We're working together to achieve our ambition of creating and delivering the best possible effective regulatory system. We want the way that we regulate to support businesses and to enable our businesses to grow. We want to have a reputation that will even attract businesses into our area. There are many opportunities for regulatory officers as they go about their duties to be able to assist and support businesses. Given our wish to be more effective, it really is a no-brainer that we don't take advantage of those opportunities. For the majority of our businesses, the only contact they will have with their local council, other than when they receive their annual demand for business rates, is when the regulator visits. So, in order to understand and improve our services, we think it is essential that we gain a better insight into how it feels to be on the receiving end when an inspector calls. We need to find out what are businesses' honest opinions about what they find helpful. What could we do better? What kind of advice can we offer that would contribute to the well-being of their business? There are already many examples across the country of excellent practice amongst regulators, and clearly this cannot be about compromising on compliance. But it is about considering how we can go about achieving that compliance and what else we can do along the way that helps those businesses to be successful. This DVD aims to give us all an insight into the experiences of different businesses and to help us to learn from their feedback. I hope it will spark further thinking about how we can improve how we work together across our disciplines and remove some of the real and imaginary barriers that mean we don't always work as well together as we could.
Our first case study involves Paul, who was setting up his very first cafe in Watford. I started by asking him, in terms of regulation, did he know what was required of him?
Not to start with, but I went out and found out. Yeah, I got some good advice from an enterprise agency in Watford. Pointers from that, and knew basically I had a checklist of things that I needed to go through and find out about. And obviously knowing that I was working with food, I knew that there's the rating system and the fact that people need to, or people are going to judge you on that. So that was something that I chose to place as important.
How difficult was it to find out the information you needed?
Well, did it all sort of via the website and what have you.
Was that straightforward enough, the website?
It was, well, I knew what I was looking for, so...
Yeah, but did it give you the answers?
Not straight away, I wouldn't say, but then obviously registering as a business was a big thing that I had to take care of, and then without a background in food, I knew that I had to go on some sort of course or whatever. As for finding the information, I felt like I could have had more of it brought to me because it was amongst all the other things that I was thinking of at the time. So.
Okay, in this early stage, and you talk about going to the enterprise group in the first place to find out the things you needed to know, needed to do, and then you went to the council website. Is there anything that could have been made easier for you?
A couple of things. With the registration, I can't remember myself getting back a response to say, you're now registered as a food business, you need to do this, this and this. It was more just, you sent off your registration, that's it. I think at the time of registration, I could have done with the Safer Food Better Business pack being sent to me directly. Yeah. Maybe some form of contact saying, I don't know, thanks for registering, congratulations, good luck. And a checklist early on would have been ideal. you know, they know I'm a food business. They knew when I registered. From that registration process, that I didn't feel like I got any large return off it. Not return, but if they're there to help, that's where you get the
point
return.
you could have done beforehand.
And if it's like, right, well, there is this package.
And would that have saved you time and effort along the way if you'd had that help earlier?
The earlier something happens, the better you can plan for it.
Della had been in business for a number of years and had never had a visit from the council. When she moved to her new premises just 4 doors away, she made a number of requests to the council for inspectors to call. But what happened when they did?
The first one was not trying to help me. I actually a bit was worried when I see the gentleman. Of course he's working long hours, he must be tired, he's trying to do his job, but the communication, the way he communicated, I don't think was right.
In what way?
Well, for example, it's very important that the first impression from the face, he was a bit frowny, so I was a bit worried if I have done something wrong or if you're going to put some negative mark for my salon.
And why was he there? Was he there to tell you about the regulations?
I told him to come to check my salon, and each time I myself called to council, and I don't like in future any problem happen for my salon, and I like to improve.
So you want to get it right?
Yeah, and each time I myself called to the council and I asked to send someone, so nobody just like that came to my shop so far.
Okay, so in the first instance, this chap, was he helpful?
He made me really worried, to be honest, and he was. As I said, that English is my second language, and I couldn't understand what he's trying to say. And he said, "Oh, you cannot operate this." I said, "I can operate the machine. I'm qualified, but I cannot understand the English word you have used." So he was really angry, and he was going out. And I said, "So what will happen to me?" And then he said, "I'll come back again." So then I said, "What do you expect from me when you come back?" And then he just given me the paperwork for our IPL. Actually, I don't think that question in the IPL he was expecting was not, how can I say, for beautician. Is someone, manufacturer could answer that, parts of that.
Okay, what about other regulations, health and safety, fire regulations, that sort of thing? This place is open to the public.
Yeah.
What regulations?
To be honest, council never contact us to tell us anything. So it's the insurance company, we are in touch with them. And if we don't, to be honest, nobody contacted us to tell anything.
Gary was a former public sector worker who bought himself an accountancy franchise and set up shop in a commercial premises in Sawbridgeworth. But there was one particular problem that he had with local regulation.
The main issue we had here was with signage. The whole point about this location, and a lot of small businesses, is about visibility. And we needed the signage up quickly. The quicker we get the signage up, the quicker we get noticed, the quicker we get the inquiries. And we found that it just seemed to take such a long time that it's as though every single application, I can only speak for myself personally, but it's as though every single application that individual bases make is treated as an exception. And surely this process, I would have thought, there could be a fast track with it.
What went on and what could have been better?
I just think it's the tardiness. I didn't have any, I don't recall any telephone conversations to make things move quickly, or emails. It was all very formal letters that you waited for.
So in all, how long did it take to get your signage signed off, as it were?
Probably in the matter of months. It just seemed such a long time because we were at such a crucial stage in just coming in, and it's cash flow. Cash flow is so important to us, and we were so aware of the longer we didn't have the signage, then the longer it would take for businesses to notice us and to start to make inquiries.
I notice here on your premises we have fire extinguishers dotted around the place and that sort of thing. In terms of compliance there, did you know what to do?
Not at all, to be honest with you. I sourced the premises. I thought there'd be some kind of compliance that needed to be adhered to, but I have no idea what it is. I just assumed that what I see there's a extinguisher there, there's a extinguisher in the kitchen, there are various signage, but I wouldn't know if that's up to date, if it's changed, if it needs to, if it's in the right location. No, I've absolutely no idea.
Russell produces chili products and sells them at festivals and events across the country. So, for a business like his, how did he deal with regulation?
Basically, I will put all my labelling through trading standards in Hertfordshire. They will either okay it, they'll say you need to change this, or they'll say no, you can't do that. This is a great service that they've offered. If I go to another county, however, they may challenge what I've got.
Is there anything in that process that maybe could change and improve?
I'm not afraid to challenge something. For instance, on the labels, at the present moment, it's obligatory to have a postal address. I disagree with that in this day and age. I think an email address and a website and a phone number is sufficient. As far as my processes go and my hazard analysis, it's all in place. I get questioned by EHOs on every show I attend. That again changes from county to county. Chichester, for instance, expect you to have a sink with running water, even if you're selling pre-packed food.
So, in terms of the variation on regulation, has that ever cost you?
It has, actually. I had 10,000 wrappers done for my chocolates, which had been agreed in principle when they were taken away from here to be product tested, which has happened. I think it's a yearly process. They then come back with, you can't have this on the label and you need this in place. There's something else missing on my nutrition, etc. So, yeah, printed 10,000. I think I'd sold half of those before I was told that they're not actually legal.
So had they been signed off or not?
Nothing ever gets signed off. The words, I can see no problem with this, is given.
But not in writing?
It is in writing, but it's very clever. It's never signed off. It is said, I can see no issue with this, or yeah, we can't find any problems with the label that you presented us. It is never, yes, go for it, get them printed. It's never 100%.
Given the size of his business, 3 restaurants and a 4th on the way, and a staff of 90, Andre leaves a lot of the regulation work in the hands of the experts he employs. But there have been some issues that have stood out for him during his time in Hertfordshire.
During 2004, I think DDA, the Disabled Act, not in its entirety, but a certain part of the Act came into force, and we were required to introduce disabled access, which of course, you know, I value and I feel is of great importance. But Hertford is a very small restaurant, and subsequently we were at that point required to put a toilet on the main floor as you walk in, which is where you would normally have it. But that meant that the 35 covers we had upstairs would be reduced to 15, which essentially would mean that from a purely financial perspective, it made the whole thing worthless, which meant that if we put the disabled toilet in, we'd end up closing after a year.
So how could the regulators have helped you?
Well, again, there was no support in that respect. It was, well, we need you to abide by the law, regardless of the fact that it's grade listed, and this is a new act that's been passed, whether it's, I think it's European law, and subsequently you need to make sure that you maintain the standards that are required.
Are you saying there was no flexibility or understanding of your situation as a commercial enterprise?
The flexibility came from the man or the woman I employed to look outside the box, because of course, as far as I was concerned, we had to find an answer. We couldn't plonk essentially a disabled toilet, which is 4 square metres or 3.5 square metres, in the middle of a restaurant, because invariably it would mean that we wouldn't make enough, money to pay the rates and stay in business.
Yeah.
So we're all buggered.
Yes. In terms of the likes of health and safety and the inspections and all that go on, do you live in fear of the next surprise inspection, or do you feel you're working with the council now?
Coming to a restaurant and doing an inspection is important, but as important is when you do it. So I have had that many arguments over the years when someone's arrived at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm thinking, well, we've got a full restaurant, we can't give you the time you deserve. The staff in the kitchen who need to ask questions, or more importantly, answer questions, are not in a position to do that. And it all becomes a real mess. And I've always said, if it's unannounced, which is fine by us because it needs to be unannounced, come along either before lunch or after lunch, before dinner or after dinner. Only because it means that we can answer the questions and also feel as though that we're giving it the time it deserves. And there is still a little bit of confusion as to when they arrive, as to whether that's a value, or whether that's acceptable or not. And you know, we've been told by a couple of consultant EHOs who've come in to support the council that, well, we'll just watch you for 3 hours before we have our conversation. Well, that sends the fear of God. I mean, forget Mr. Lussman coming through the door. That's irrelevant. If you've got the EHOs who's going to sit there for 3 hours and watch you, well, you'll get nervous, you'll lose your confidence, you'll start dropping the ball, you'll start making mistakes, and you'll start wondering, I never usually do that, because you're nervous.
Clearly, we need to better understand the businesses we serve. What may seem a small thing to us might become a huge problem for the business involved. So, I hope you found those stories helpful and food for thought. I'd also like to thank all those businesses that have taken the time to participate in this DVD. From their range of experiences, we can already see that whilst we are by no means saying we're doing a bad job, we could definitely make some changes that would make a positive contribution for businesses. We have a number of challenges to consider. What do these lessons mean for us in our roles? What can we do, not only in our personal approach to dealing with businesses, but also how do we think the services we offer could be improved? How we take these lessons forward and continue to listen to business feedback as we develop our services is key to improving our relationship, improving compliance, and improving the opportunities for businesses on our patch to grow and thrive.